Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 136th episode of the GeekVerse podcast. I'm the Dark Knight Rises loving Travis Snell.
Wow. Oh, my names are bad.
I'm the Dark Rise hating Bill Musk.
Your names are bad, Taylor. You get the
Let's
worst.
hear what he comes up with.
Yeah.
This will
Just
determine.
because other people have bad names doesn't mean yours.
This name that you come up right now determines your whole history.
I'm the plain flying Taylor Field.
Oh, that's really bad.
He would at least say pilot.
I don't know if he would.
I am the...
Were you going to say plane flying?
He was, that's why I confused him.
I am the civilian boat Taylor Field.
Oh, fuck off.
boat?
See, it's just as
Civilian
bad.
boats, Taylor Field.
Okay.
I am the German mole, Tyler Briggs.
German mole.
If you haven't guessed by our nicknames or the title of the podcast, I don't know what's wrong with you, but we are reviewing Dunkirk.
Well, they could have thought it was the Dark Knight Rises review.
What?
Would it be oddly timed? Sure. But
Maybe they would just watch one of our last reviews and it autoplayed to this one so they didn't even get a chance to look at
That's
the title.
true. This could
That's-
be 5 years from now.
someone could be listening to this
5
in like
years.
2067.
Yeah.
It's true.
No, we'll still be alive. We'll
Hopefully.
still be kicking, doing
Still be kicking.
reviews of, Dark Knight Rises.
No, we won't be allowed on the internet.
You've been waiting for 50 years.
Yeah.
Finally, the wash along of Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to review Christopher Nolan's newest film, Dunkirk. I don't think we have any housekeeping before. I want to shout out that thank you for everyone that tuned in for July. July was our biggest month. We've not ever said this on GeekVerse, but it's 20 days later. But yeah, July was our biggest month, so whether you checked it out... June was... fuck. June was our biggest month. July's going to be our biggest month. Just you watch. But no, thank everyone for tuning in from the past and tuning in to this. Tyler, kick us off. What are your... There's not going to be too much spoilers, I guess, really, because it's like, it's a true event. We kind of know, and the characters are kind of fictitious even then, so who knows how much, like, actually spoilery we'll get, but for basic non-spoiler, what were your overall thoughts of this film?
It was a really good film.
Mm.
You know, Christopher Nolan knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes.
I enjoyed how the stories intersected. I was a little confused at the very start, but everything as you keep watching, it just kind of, it all flows together really nicely. So try not to, if you're watching the film, try not to think about how they intersect too much and like what's going on. It'll make sense later.
It'll do the work
Don't
for
stress
you.
out about it. I started stressing out a little bit, thinking real hard. Other times like, okay, what's going on? This is the
You almost walked out of the theater.
yeah. Jeez.
What's
man.
going on
Got
in
my
there,
seat.
sir? To the usher. To the usher, and the usher's like, I haven't seen Despicable Me 8 times. I don't know what you're talking about.
So yeah, overall great cinematography, really good storylines, and just a very pleasant watch, and also shorter than most films nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
At least most good films that I've seen recently nowadays.
Snap.
I don't know about bad films; they might be short. I don't watch them.
Sometimes.
Anyways, yeah, great film. I would recommend going to see it to everyone. I think
Everyone.
everyone.
I think
Babies.
not if you're 3.
Dogs.
I'm
Okay.
not gonna recommend this to my daughter.
I mean, I don't know if they're listening to this. Anyways,
They are.
they wouldn't understand my recommendation.
We have a
You don't know
huge
that.
contingency of Teletubby fans.
All right.
Don't be famous.
If you're under the age, you have a level of maturity that is less than.
You can operate a handheld device.
You gotta be
Yes.
careful because lots of us have a lot of,
Very
maturity
low
levels that are
maturity
pretty low.
levels.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me.
If you agree with most of my opinions on this podcast and generally think that a movie's good when I say it's good, then go watch this film. I'll leave it at that. Very non-controversial.
That makes sense. Taylor Field, are you mature enough to see this movie?
I don't know. Yeah, I think so. So, I very much enjoyed this movie, and I was taking into account because I remember you said that you thought it would be different storylines that intersect at some point through this film, and so that's what.
Hashtag Travis told you.
I went into this movie because I believed you when you said that.
I wasn't talking about fucking aliens. I just said by the first Dunkirk trailer, I'm like, I think this story is like interloping story.
Interloping.
Interlocking.
I
Nonlinear.
followed it. I was like, Travis is right for this. I'm gonna follow that. So and it proved to be right, and
Good job, Taylor.
Okay, I love the my self-promoting, but we get it. I was right. What did you think about the movie?
I thought it was a very good movie. I thought it was beautiful at moments, and then other times it was just very, emotional and powerful, and it really, really hit me throughout this experience, like every different character's journey. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I liked it. I thought it was, just Christopher Nolan standard of, just like the cinematography, and I guess the soundtrack of this one wasn't like outstanding, but it was, it's all about like the feel of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like for the first like half an hour, 40 minutes, I was really, really into it. And then after that, it kind of like varied a bit. Like for some like segments, I was just a little bit out of it. Like I think for like a tiny bit, I was like confused sometimes what exactly was like happening, just because of like the fact that it's not entirely linear, timeline wise.
Minor spoilers.
Yeah, minor spoilers.
No, I'm just shouting it out.
Yeah, but I think the thing this movie did best, which is I imagine what his goal was to convey that sense of hopelessness. How like anytime something like even marginally good happens, that it just doesn't really matter. Like it just seems like there's shitty things after shitty things happening, and yeah, I think that like terror of it all. I think that is the thing that this movie did best.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I feel like that was probably his goal. So I don't know. I think it was a really, really good movie. For sure.
Well, for this movie, for me, there's like two things I had going into. One, I talked to a former co-host of ours, Liam, about the movie. I was like, oh man, Dunkirk's out this week. And he's like, yeah, I feel like lately he's been a little overhyped. And I thought about that because I have a lot of movies that I love his, but it's just kind of like, oh, is he just because he's kind of like the new kid on the block? Like he's making all these big movies like Inception and Batman, which is a favorite of mine. So it's like, oh, and like, I think they're wrong, but there's people that don't like Dark Knight Rises. But joking aside, like, there's other people that don't. Dylan's not alone in that. And I love it, but then there's like Interstellar, where for me that was my least favorite Nolan movie. I still like it a lot, but I remember walking out not really being wowed. Like, okay, that was a really good movie. So it was kind of these two films back to back that hadn't blown like everybody away, opposed to like his first four. Like you have Batman Begins, Prestige, Inception, and Dark Knight. Just The Dark Knight. I don't know if you can find a better just 4 in a row of films that one filmmaker has made. Not like overall, just in a row. So it was like, oh, maybe it's that classic, director starts off really hard.
Oh.
They start off really hot and they're kind of on a downslope. So I had that. And the other thing was years ago when they announced, oh, he's doing a movie about Dunkirk. Didn't really float my boat, no pun intended. I've always said I've seen between Full Metal Jacket and Saving Private Ryan, like I've seen like war movies done to perfection. I don't know if I need to see it. I don't know if I need Nolan to. Nolan has done so much stuff like with Inception and Interstellar that are so out there. I don't know if I want to see something based in reality. After seeing this movie, I can kind of just again kind of be like, well, I should never doubt Nolan because he completely like turned me around. I went in being like, okay, it's a war movie, it's Nolan, it will at least be good. It actually kind of blew me away, and maybe it's just because my expectations were a bit lower, but the amount of desperation in this movie, and you were touching upon that, Dylan, like, that is the strong suit of it, and it's kind of hard for me to talk about the movie because it actually made me feel more emotional than I thought it was going to, and war movies don't usually, which sound bad. War movies can usually present terror for me, but I usually never connect too much with the characters because they're just kind of just people like, here's the jerk guy, here's whatever guy, and you're just following them on a journey. I think just the way he told the story and the way he shot it, the amount of times this movie made me feel claustrophobic, and I'm a person that doesn't feel that way, that's what really got me. Like, times where good things were happening, I was happy, and times where, and that's where I'll disagree a little bit. I think the score was maybe the best part of the movie, because I think it did the best thing of portraying happiness, sadness, desperation, terror. Like, anytime there's bombs coming, or anytime the water was sinking a boat, the way the score would propel it and almost be like a ticking time bomb, I found it, like, gut-wrenching. Like, if this movie is an hour 40 and it doesn't feel like that, and it's not like when we talk about, I don't know which movie, maybe let's say, like, Warcraft for me. Something that's maybe 2 hours, it feels like 4 hours. Like, this is so, this felt like 3 hours, but not in a bad way. It just felt so intense and so kind of, you're kind of like, feel like you're going through mud in a way through this movie, and not in a bad way. It's just like you're always getting brought down lower and lower, and even like you said, in peaks of happiness, there's always, okay, something 10 times worse around the corner. So I think it did a good job of portraying despair, and yeah, I liked it a lot more than I thought, and I guess for non-spoilers, I would go Logan, and then I'd go this for the film of the year so far. Like, Dunkirk's up there. I think Dunkirk, who knows, falls a long ways away, but I'm hoping this is going to lead to Nolan's, like, first really being looked at by the Academy Awards, because he's been passed over many times. I love this movie. It was great. So
It was a pretty full theater for a Thursday night too. Actually,
yeah, those Harry Styles fans, you know. That's why.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna talk about more. Like I said, it's not gonna be as spoilers like a Marvel one because I think you could watch this without seeing the movie. But if you want to, you can go see it and then watch the rest of our review. But we will talk about maybe certain characters making it or not making it. So, do we want to just start going by each story? Well, actually, I want to start by we kind of knew that was going to be 3 separate stories. How do you guys feel about being non-linear? Because at first I thought I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it, and then I was like, oh, I don't know if I like it, but then once everything came together at the end, I really liked it. I was like, okay, on a second watch, I think I'll like it even more. But at first, it was strange, but I caught on it right away when there was some, I can't remember what, they showed something, and that's when I caught on eventually, because they don't right out tell you it's non-linear, but there's something, I think it was...
Well, the first break even from it going to, like, out of order is, like, a decent amount into the film, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say it's almost about half an hour. There's something before this, but I leaned over to you and said when they saw those 3 planes, when I'm like, oh, that's Tom Hardy. But there's something like maybe 10 minutes before that's when I caught on, but that's when I started to catch on. Like, okay, they're telling they're telling it in a certain way that's very like a Pulp Fiction, and I like that, and that kind of makes sense with you look at Inception and Interstellar. Nolan likes and Memento's a huge one. Nolan likes to play with time, and I think that worked because it didn't make it just a war film. It kind of added a fun little edge in there, so I liked that.
Yeah, I'm unsure how I feel about it. It's really hard for me to say after one watch, so I feel a little bit bad in that sense because I really want. I don't know how I feel about it yet, just after one watch, and I don't know. I liked it, but I didn't feel like I don't know. Like I think some of those time jumps really like took me out of it sometimes too, just because I felt like we were like going back to a scene that I already understood, and I feel like the story was like it was a very simple story, but it was just broken up into different orders, and like that's the only reason it was maybe a little bit confusing, not because it was a very complex story. So yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about the time jumps yet, and just the breaking up of it. I'd really have to watch it again to see.
I was so involved with each of the characters' like stories and everything. I didn't really notice that there were these time jumps until the point where
I thought you were gonna say at all. I was gonna be like, oh fuck, what happened?
The whole movie I didn't even know. When they were on the ship at nighttime and you see Tom Hardy flying in the daytime, that was when it clearly is settled for me. Like, oh, okay, like maybe they're just at like far different ends of the island. Okay, no, this is where the time jumps are coming.
Really far.
Yeah, really far. So I mean, I thought it worked out really, really well in my opinion, and I loved how it added like it was a slow build up at the beginning with these time jumps and everything, and then when it got to the end, it was very quick and fast paced, and it all worked in really, really well. I found with each character's story. So I really enjoyed it. Yeah,
like on your point, I think it worked the best at the very ending when you had all the 3 guys getting on the boat, whatever's happening on the boat, and Tom Hardy and it all happening at the same time. That's for me when I really clicked for me. Like, okay, I'm really into this.
It was a little confusing at the start for me. I think probably what part that got me the most was how they had they made well, it's not that it was insignificant, but when they made they picked up the first guy on the boat that got sunk by a U-boat. I thought that at some point he was from the first story, from the mole part, and I kept trying to think, okay, when are they going to run into him? When's his story going to be him sitting on that boat and the boat finding him? And then because they made it, for me at least, it felt like it was a very significant moment, and he was a character from the beach that would meet up, and that's where the timelines would intersect. And then that never happened, so that kind of threw me off a little bit. But for the most part, I thought it was really well done. And then the way they introduced the fact that it's 3 different timelines, I guess.
Yeah, right at the beginning.
How it's like the mole
really,
1 week.
Yeah,
and
the
then,
air and pretty much.
The one thing I feel like they didn't need to do 1 week though, because it didn't feel like a full week passed.
No, not really.
On those clips, it felt like it was maybe 2 days or 3 days.
Yeah, well, my only thing was it saying that time frame was a week, or were they just saying that they've been, like, obviously they've been there longer, but have they been just trying? Well, I guess.
I think that's what I got from when it said the mole 1 week, 1 day, and 1 hour, because it makes sense. It takes a day to sail across the channel. It's the pilot arguably only had 1 hour of fuel for that, and then they're on the beach stranded for this amount of time for a week. before they get out. So
Mhm.
that's at least what I got from that, and it didn't feel like they were on the beach for a week, for me at least.
Yeah.
But other than that, I really loved how they ended up intersecting all at the end and just coming together, and it didn't really take me out that much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the one other point to it, the thing I liked where I thought, oh, will I not like it because it spoils things for the characters. I liked at one moment when Tom Hardy was flying and he saw that blue old boat crash, and then when you saw, like, maybe 20 minutes later, the three soldiers, like, walking to it. That's what I liked, because at first I thought, oh, I won't like it, but I liked that it kind of had this, like, impending doom. Like, you knew, like, all these guys are finally got out there, kind of like, oh, no, this is gonna go poorly. And I can see how someone might not like it, because someone might say it cuts the tension, and it's like, well, you know this boat's gonna crash. But, like, to me, I liked finding out how, you know? It's a...
And you don't know whether they're going to make it or not, either.
Yeah, like, it's a lazy example, but I always throw Pulp Fiction as the thing, like, oh, you might see a certain character die, and then, like, half an hour later you see them again, but it's like, it's still about the journey. I think it's the movies that are bad and they don't make the in-between parts good, that's when it would cut the tension. Like, well, that wasn't anything. But, like, that moment when they're on the boat and the guys were target practicing, like, very intense. That's what I mean. You knew it was going to sink. You knew it was going to go bad, but it didn't happen the way I thought it was going to be. I didn't think there'd be holes, and I didn't know that's when the mole thing was going to happen, so...
That's like the part where the pilot went down and he was waving at Tom Hardy,
yeah,
but then
that was
totally changed.
You thought he was okay, and then, oh, man.
Yeah, what do we want to talk about the three stories now, kind of individual? Also, we can talk about them interlinked at the end, but which one do we want to start with?
Probably, we should just go in, like, order, I think, the way it started.
No, I want to start the other way around.
The other way around, okay.
All right, Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Oh, doesn't matter. I'm just making a decision for
Let's
start with the boys on the beach.
Mm-hmm, the
Boys
mole,
on the beach.
1 week, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So for those characters, what's the main guy's name? Like the young.
I'll find out. He's very new. I felt like Christopher Nolan just wanted to unveil that he wasn't so he was very
for this film. But yeah, I loved how that character didn't even have like a single line for. Well, I guess he had like that one line in the street when he was running away.
Yeah, very minor.
Yeah, but other than that, like he was just so quiet, and you could tell he was just so disturbed. And I think that whatever the actor's name is did an amazing job.
Fionn Whitehead.
Fionn Whitehead.
I'm not making it up.
You can't make that up. That is a crazy name.
Good man.
But yeah, the amount of emotion he could convey just with like his facial expressions and his body language too. Like even that scene when him and his two buddies meet up with that other squad and they're going to that like tugboat and waiting for the tide. Like just the way he's like kind of like hunkered down, like his posture even. Like I don't know, the way he just like held himself up in all those scenes really I thought that guy did an amazing job.
Yeah, no, I would agree there. I think what you touched upon, I like that he didn't have much dialogue to that big speech about, like, you know, don't, like, there's no point, like, he's just gonna die, like, it's just one guy. Like, I think that made it more powerful that he barely talked the whole film. And honestly, not many people talk that much this whole film, and I kind of like that. I kind of forget about it at times, but at times it would be, like, 20 minutes with no dialogue. You're like, oh, no one's talking and all. And I like that it's... like, between the acting and just the cinematography and the shots, that's the way the story was told instead of, like, oral. It was told very visual, so, yeah.
You know, as an actor, I think when we got introduced to him right away, like, it was quick and just all, like, a sudden, and, I mean, you really already, like, you know he's a main character, but you fear for his life already, and he delivered so well at doing that. I mean, it's one thing for an actor to have to just, like, act and speak the lines and everything, but then it's not something you see too often where a really good actor can portray and send a message by doing certain, like, movements with their body and how they portray this kind of journey that they're going on alongside with doing their lines and everything. And I think that he just did a fantastic job just making you feel stressed and sad. I don't remember any time where I really felt happy except like at the end of his journey. But it was just so powerful how he delivered it, and I think like he's got great talent, and I'd love to see him in like other roles. I mean, I'm just blown away.
I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
Suicide Squad 2? Tyler, you have something to say on the
Not a whole lot to add on top of what you guys said, but yeah, you just did a phenomenal job acting with so little dialogue. And I want to give a shout out to another movie with very little dialogue, All Is Lost. I don't know if you guys seen it, but
I think I've seen it once.
if you enjoy that style, phenomenal film. I won't get into it anymore, but yeah, just phenomenal job, and just right from the get-go all the way until the very end, just that constant tension and just like that feeling of just being so distraught, and nothing ever is like ever going right. They're always so close to something good happening, and it just all goes to shit. But yeah, just the acting was just phenomenal from all the people on the beach, and that one scene really got me when he first comes across the guy burying the body, and they just like they see each other and they stare for a second, and you just I don't even know how to explain it, but
it was
got
great.
me. It got me, and then just that instant bond they formed, and then it just goes from there.
On that scene, do you think he was burying him to hide him so no one could notice the uniform was taken, or burying him out of respect?
That's up to you, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like for me, I'd say, out of respect, but like I think they kind of purposely leave it a little vague for you because Harry Styles' character throws that accusation of like, how do you know he didn't kill him? You know, and he goes, well, I don't think he would kill him, but it's like you don't know. This guy could have killed him. My version of the character, he didn't kill him, but who knows? No one could roll and be like, this mole's a fucking asshole, and he's just killing people left and right.
Yeah.
He's like in Inglourious Bastards, we just don't know about it. So,
What do you think about that character then?
Harry,
In him.
the mole guy?
The mole.
I thought he did good. I think he did well. It's funny, he's in a lot of the movie, but I felt like he's the least because he's a lot of like hiding. Yeah, and like I think honestly, there's no bad actor. I think they all did a fantastic job. Like the cast is very talented. I just felt like we saw the least of him, but I think it was good, and like I liked his character motive. Like I liked that for the most part, other than that part in the boat there when it was sinking. We didn't get too much like I'm a soldier dick measuring because that happens in a lot of war movies, and that takes me out of it because this was like they're just trying to survive for the whole movie. Other than that one point, they don't really throw each other on the bus. Like they're always trying to help each other out, and then when they did call him out being the mole, it felt justified in that moment because like, well, if one of us has to die, it should be this guy, and I thought he did good for same thing. Very great facial, great visual cues. So I think he did a good job.
Well, just to hop on what you said there, you know, I think one of like the main character as well. Like you can tell that they're all really young and they don't want to be there at all. And I think that's what set this movie apart from like other war movies. And I haven't seen that many, to be fair, so I don't have a lot of reference point. But yeah, like it's not like there's no competition there for them. It's just like this is the fucking worst time in their life, and they don't want to be here at all.
People
and they
are
definitely
committing suicide in front of them.
Yeah, exactly. I think I have to agree with you on the character of the mole there. He was, I don't know, there wasn't like a whole lot of depth there. He was kind of just chilling out. But I liked that, like, wordless, like, friendship between him and the main character. I thought that was well done between them. Just, like, their body language in conjunction. I think they worked well together. I actually didn't like Harry Styles' character that much.
You did or didn't?
I didn't. I don't know if it was the acting. I don't know if it was, like, the attitude of the character. But I just didn't really... I think it had something to do with the acting, and I know he's from One Direction, right?
1D?
Has he done any other movies?
No, this was kind of, I think, his first. Has he done other movies?
I don't think he has.
No, I don't think so.
Is
and if anything, nothing to this type of level of acting. I'd say it'd be pretty cookie cutter. Like fun time.
I wasn't really a fan of his character. I don't really have any good reason to. It's hard because these characters, so little dialogue. All you really have to go off for a lot of them is just kind of their body language, and you kind of have to like make up a story for them almost in your head of like what exactly happened to them. So, yeah, I wasn't a fan of Harry Styles' character. Yeah, but other than that, I think everyone did a really good job.
Yeah, no, I didn't love him or him. I thought he did it for me a good job considering like he's like just some singer. Like I don't know how much acting he's had. I think the character was in there just to be the aggressor, and I think he did that good enough. Like, and then he kind of like has that redemption moment, which I really liked. Like that to me was like a big emotional moment when the mole actually died and he gets like tangled up. And I think that was good that they didn't just full out make him like douchey McGee. Like he did have moments. They did have moments where he, like I said, redeemed himself or came around or was like, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. So I think character wise I liked him. I think acting wise, same thing. I think he was good, but I haven't seen him in anything else. He didn't stand out the same way probably for you, like where you didn't like him, or I'm just like, oh yeah, he was good. Yeah.
The mole. I mean, he was between the two, like the other guy, Fionn and him.
Fionn.
I can't remember his name, but I feel like I had more of a connection with Fionn over the mole. I mean, yes, he had that kind of language, and he was definitely quiet throughout the whole film, and you feel a connection with them, but I didn't feel like a whole connection with them, and that's not a bad thing. I felt his journey was definitely just as a character, like he was looking ahead and trying to survive, yes, but just plan and just kind of figure out a way for himself, as opposed to Fionn, who was just, he didn't look ahead, he was just trying to survive. That was it. And I thought that was very neat to see that as this character, as the mole, just trying to foresee what could happen, like how he didn't want to be trapped in that locked
I love that scene when
part of the ship and he goes outside. That's so smart. And most people, they're not thinking that. They're thinking, okay, it just feels cozy, safe, but this is where the food is. I mean, and I just thought that, that those things are really what fleshed him out. And yes, as I said, like I wasn't connected with him on that kind of a level. I still got that that gist of like getting to know him in that sense, where the things he was doing and his actions. For Harry Styles, I'm with you. I think he was there he did his job as a character. I didn't wasn't overjoyed, wasn't
overjoyed.
Wasn't like
that might be the first time the word overjoyed has been used on the GeekVerse podcast.
I think so.
Way to go, Taylor.
Probably the last.
I'll use it.
But I mean, he was there and he delivered. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing him in like
Dunkirk 2?
Dark Knight Rises 2 or something.
Dark Knight Rises 2. Fuck you.
Ty, any thoughts on the... Oh, sorry.
Well, I don't know. I was just going to jump, their storyline in general, I just really... I actually, if you have something to say about those characters... Go
yeah, Harry Styles, no, I don't know. No opinion.
Okay.
But just the mole, one thing I really liked was he had a very different feel to his character, because a lot of the characters were just so distraught and despairing and so just like downtrodden. They just
look at these words.
Everything was just awful. They're
Where's your
sulking,
thesaurus, man?
and they just look like they're having an absolutely miserable time. Whereas the mole felt like he'd kind of been pushed that brink, and then it got to the point where he wasn't even miserable at the point. He was just like cold, hard, and just like very analytical, I guess. And I guess kind of, I don't want to say timid, but like scared still. But he didn't have that feeling of despair in a way. It just shows how these situations affect different people in different ways. And some people are very frantic and just trying to survive the moment, whereas some people, it pushes them over the edge and they kind of get past. I don't want to say get past, because obviously mentally you're still pretty fucked up if you get to that point. But just getting how it affects people in that way, and some people just get pushed past it and they have like a new look. They look at everything in a different way than everyone else. And I thought that was really, really awesome how they showed how it didn't affect everyone the same way.
Cool. Yeah. I was just gonna say, their storyline in general, I was into it from the very start, and I think the start of the movie was really good. Like it just started, like it just says Dunkirk, and then boom, you're into it already.
Gives you a few lines of like what's happened. We didn't get a half an hour of like, why is this war happening? You know,
why is the war happening?
Well, that happens a lot more movies though. The first half, or they do flashbacks of setup of like, oh, these people pissed off these people, the blah blah blah. And I think I'd agree with you there. And like I think that speaks to the runtime. Like, I don't think I'd have to really think. Maybe I've watched the second part. It never felt like there's any filler in there. I never felt like there was talking for the sake of talking. It all felt like everything was action, movement going forward. So, yeah, they give like a few lines of like, enemies pushed us back and yada yada yada. So.
But yeah, their journey is interesting because that hopelessness was really conveyed to me, at least. Like I felt that as well. Like the main character starts off, and then like his whole squad gets shot down, and he's running away, and he's like his gun is jammed, and he's just like panicking. He doesn't know what to do, and then he just runs because that's all he can think to do. And then like they're on the beach, and then obviously the bombs start coming, and they get on a boat, and the boat gets trashed, and they find another boat. That boat gets trashed as well, and then the oil spills. Like it just, I never really. I didn't feel like they had any way out of there. Like I thought they were all gonna die.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just kept, persevering, and yeah. So I thought their storyline was really captivating. I was really interested to see like what they were gonna do next, because they just didn't have anything. They had no resources, all they had is like the will to survive, I guess. So.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think that's my favorite out of the 3 stories, and it's
Definitely.
not that the other parts were slow, but I was always waiting to get back to those parts. Not because it was like action packed. It was just that most of the times the characters weren't in too much peril in the other stories. Like Tom Hardy kind of was. We'll talk about that.
But he's also Tom Hardy, so it's kind of like
yeah. So like with these people, there was always this sense of what's gonna happen next, and like I touched on a bit, but those scenes like that first one when the torpedo hits the boat or the big, what would be the technical term? Is it just
like a
boat?
destroyer?
A destroyer,
Star
something
Destroyer.
like that. Yeah.
Star Destroyer.
That's a whole different movie.
Destroyer, but
I think it was.
Either way, the scene.
They definitely said that.
Just the scene. They did say something like that. When the scene.
They said that.
They're having.
Not something like that. They said destroyer.
They're just. I'm just trying. I believe
Taylor was right. I'll give him credit.
When they're just happy and having a good time, they're kind of laughing. When you see stuff like the water goes off, and then once the water fills, you just see things like the cups floating and the bread, and you see guys like pulling apart each other, like trying to get across, and you see just that shimmer of the door, like everything that was happening to them. That's why I always wanted to get back to that story, and that's why I think I actually will like the movie this time, like a second watch, because anytime I was on the other stories, it's like, okay, I really want to get back to this story though. And like one note I want to say before I get it on the beginning of the film, I love that the first 30 seconds was very silent. Like it was just their footsteps, the papers falling, everything like that, and then there was gunshots, and it was loud. Like they purposely, I think, made it loud enough for me to like nearly jump, because it's not. Right now, you just think all these soldiers are just doing perimeter, going somewhere. They're checking houses. They're looking for water, and then there's no setup. There's no guy with a gun or look there is. There's no expecting it. Like in a war, it just happens, and then all the carnage and chaos just kind of ensues from there. And that's why I like that. It was kind of like it's cheesy, but kind of the calm before the storm. Because after that, until the end, he doesn't get much of a break. Yeah, he sits on the beach a couple times, but he's seeing people die. There's bombs. There's people killing themselves right in front of him. So it's like. That's the only point in the movie before the end we see him like kind of just they're just kind of hanging out looking for stuff to survive, and then after that it's full on survival mode.
Those classic movie moments of like this character's like running off of a building that's falling apart, and they make that like big leap at the end. There's only one of those moments in this movie, and that's like when they when there's like that oil spill and the boat is going away, and then he like reaches his hand out. But in so many other movies, that's like a point of suspense where they try to do that so many times, where like the character's so close to dying. But I feel like there was only like one instance of that in this movie. Other than that, like they were just getting destroyed. I had another point that I can't remember, so someone else can hop in.
Anything else to say on the mole story before we move
The
on?
mole.
No, I will say that they 100% cut that extra from the trailer that we talked about.
Still made me laugh though, because he's still like a little. Smart.
Yeah, like maybe you were here for this time. We'll show you after the cast, but there was an extra, and he was like in the scene, kind of smiling. Some people were like, "Oh, maybe that's because on purpose." In Dunkirk, like some people they talk about like went a little insane, and maybe that's the case. But in the trailer, it didn't stand. But the funny thing, like you see him look up, and you see a little thing, but then it cut right away, and the next time you saw them, their heads are down. So when I saw that, I kind of laughed.
I felt bad for laughing. Like I shouldn't be laughing.
People have no idea, like these fuckers in front
fucking
of us.
assholes in the theater.
So let's talk about
Tyler's like so confused.
You'll see after it. The second story, wasn't it the sky?
No, it was the boat one.
Was it the boat one? Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll start. I liked it. I think all the way through. I don't have any cons. I'm trying to think of anything I didn't like, but I liked the relationships with the captain, the son, and the friend, which at first I thought was another son until halfway through the film I learned like, oh, I was wrong. So I liked that. I liked, and Cillian Murphy, the guy they save.
Is it Killian?
Yeah, it's
I thought it
Cillian.
was Cillian.
Who it's debated, Destroyer.
Oh, it is just
Star
debated?
I don't know. No one knows.
Do you
It's spelled
know?
with a C?
I don't know. I just
Have you
thought-
heard Killian before?
I've heard people say Killian before.
Like
How do you
official
spell it?
people or
I've
like
heard people
weird
say,
people?
but then I've also heard people say Gal Gadot.
We don't
so
care
it's like,
about her.
but I'm saying you don't know. I'm just saying Murphy, Mr. Murphy, who's been Scarecrow. He's been Inception.
Yeah.
He's a Nolan favorite. I think he was really, really good. He's such a good character actor at portraying this guy who's just like a broken shell. And they even say that like he's like a shell of himself, but like. The way he'll just strike out in anger and then feel very worrisome about. But then in the end, like once he sees that this boy has died, kind of just walks away. Doesn't want to deal with it. What?
I don't think he saw that he died.
I think he did.
Because what happens is they bring the body out and it's wrapped, and there's a moment where the captain and him looking across each other, and they're looking across. each other
at the
with
very
body.
end. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought
And
you you mentioned.
Yeah,
earlier,
instead of
yeah.
going over, like, maybe... Because throughout the movie, it seems like he's maybe coming around, but then it shows either, you know, like, he was just not that good of a person, or war did break him. I thought he was the best part of that. I think I would have been bored of the boat stuff if there was more of it, but I think there was just the perfect amount. I liked the two young guys in there. I like Mark Rylance. He's a really good actor. He's an Oscar-winning actor. I think he did a good job.
Is that the old man?
Yeah, the captain, whatever his name was. So, yeah, I think it was good. And
I don't think any character had a name in this movie.
like, the main character's name was Tommy, but I don't know if we learned
George.
I wonder what
that.
the credits section
George.
was.
George was the boy who died.
Yeah, true. I knew that because the paper.
Yeah,
Ah,
exactly.
yes,
So-
the paper.
But yeah, I liked the captain's determination to go there no matter what's happening. Like, he wants to save these people, and at the end of the day, it shows he saves all these people, and they, you know, make that. Oh, how many people can you fit on there? Like, I
He
think.
lost a son early in the war too.
But yeah, exactly. So they little lines like that, like Dylan just brought up. You got the motivation. You didn't need a whole backstory, you know, and it showed that he knew certain things about the war. So I liked that, and I liked all the actors involved, especially Cillian Murphy, whatever his name is. I think he's the best part of that
Cillian.
story. So
Caecilius.
yeah, maybe Mr. Murphy.
Cillian.
I had a quick question. So, this is the only thing I still don't understand from this movie is, so Cillian's character, I thought he was in a squad with Tom Hardy and the blonde guy,
No, he was on the boat. Didn't you notice it?
No.
And
but he was in a plane originally,
No,
wasn't
and
he?
the first time we
Well,
meet
he was.
him.
I thought because they rescued him from on a plane.
No, it was a boat.
sunken
There was a
capsized.
propeller.
Oh, I thought that was a
Yeah.
plane.
No, you could see like it was a small
Oh, okay.
like boat, like engine or propeller. Whatever
And he
it was.
said U-boat too. So U-boat couldn't take a plane out. That'd be pretty impressive.
Yeah. So yeah,
Okay.
he was not in the sky. No.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's the only because I was confused like why he was on the boat later. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Because I definitely thought it was a plane. Okay, never mind. Because I was wondering like why him and the blonde guy never interacted on the boat because I thought they were buddies from the same fleet.
yeah,
So I was
same.
like, what the fuck is going on? But I understand now.
What are your thoughts on the actual story though of the sky or was it the water or the air?
Um,
or
The sea.
The
is what
sea,
it's
right.
called.
Yeah, it was all right. I don't know. It wasn't that captivating, I guess.
Mhm.
Like in terms of like there was a lot of anticipation and like thriller aspects of this movie, to like anticipation building up, and I felt like that was kind of what settles you down for a bit before you get like the next Tom Hardy scene or the mole scenes. So yeah, I thought it was all right. I liked those characters. But to me, I'd say that's probably the weakest part of the movie. I guess I just wasn't entirely captivated with it, but I liked it in the end. I mean, the end when it all comes together. Like the ending's really good. So, other than that, it was okay.
I found it, for me, out of all three of the stories, it was definitely at the beginning a slow kind of progression and just kind of pull into the story. I love the idea behind getting to see just the civilian perspective and what happens in the situation where they're being like drafted to go out with their boats and just rescue all these people. It was very interesting to see that because, I mean, you have these people that have they've had the interaction with the war, but not in the same level as these soldiers have. And so to throw them into a boat together, it's just a crazy experience that unfolds. And so with Cillian being thrown into this situation, it was just, I thought they did an amazing job capturing that. And what was the guy's name? The father? On the
Like
boat?
his actor or the character?
The actor.
Mark Rylance.
Okay.
I
I thought-
couldn't tell you the character.
I thought he did amazing when it got to that point where he felt that Cillian is threatening this his life or possibly could on the boat, and he was able to diffuse the situation very calmly, and he planned out how to address it. And I thought that was amazing because at that point I got really kind of sat up straight in my chair thinking like, is something actually going to happen here? Like this is it's the stress and the anticipation was really building up really quick, and I thought
Because you
that
never
was
really
amazing.
knew if he was going to snap again, maybe, because
Yeah.
they never made it seem like he was 100% okay, and I thought that was happening, and it never did, which I don't think is a negative, but that was always that fear of, like, oh, is he just going to lose his mind again on something? Because he was close a
Yeah.
couple times.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and as their story progressed, I found it then I was really starting to get pulled in, and again, like the way their journey ended, just I thought it was great. I mean, it was sad, but definitely very emotional.
I think it was definitely the slowest, and I don't want to say bland, but bland the most bland of the three
You
because
said it.
like in the other ones, there's always something happening, and that one was just kind of waiting to see how it brought the stories together, and it worked really well because there's always so much anticipation and suspense and tension in all the other timelines, and then in this one, it just kind of let you mentioned earlier, just kind of calmed you down a little bit. You ought to just like take a moment, think about things, and just see them going across the channel, and then it kind of gave you that hope. I felt like that during the boat scenes was when I felt the most hopeful and inspired, I guess, because
Mark Rylance, he's Mr.
Mark
Dawson
Rylance.
in the credits.
Yeah.
Mr.
Dawson.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Mark Rylance, he did a really good job of just like making me feel inspired and just very hopeful for everyone making it out. And because he just knew what he was doing, had a very strong sense of determination and duty to get there and save these people. And he was constantly, like he went and saved the people on the boat. Or the
Plane guy,
pilot.
Yeah, the fighter pilot. Yeah.
That's the word.
Yeah.
He went to save the pilot, and he was always trying to do his best, and it just brought out. It's kind of it brings out the best in people, I guess, and
Well, like the scene when the son's kind of like, "Oh, I don't think we should go there. Should we go?"
Yeah.
He's like, he could be alive, but he's like, "Well, no." He says we shouldn't go there, and then he's like, "Well, he might be alive," and then he's like, "Well, shoot didn't go." He's like, "Well, we should at least try." You know, that was, and I think you brought up a good point about it being hope, because the fighter pilot thing is that's more of a kind of, I think, the action sort of thriller part, and then like the boys where you're kind of tearing to Spain. That was the hope, because like other than killing an Interstellar being on the boat, like there wasn't too much sense of danger. Like that was the danger, so it was this another. And I think that was not even for more danger. I think that was more just again the psyche of a war survivor, less than like it being like a thriller moment. So I think that was the, like you said, the hopeful moment of like, oh, they could get there, you know, and they could save some people.
So yeah, like when I say it was bland, it wasn't because I thought it was any worse than the other parts. I thought each part of the film was phenomenally done, and they did what they were going for that part. They did very well. They did very well, but it was definitely like the slowest and least exciting, I guess. But yeah, I loved it for sure.
I wanted to bring up one thing. It's kind of unrelated to anything we were just talking about, but
Dr. Doom solo movie.
yeah, exactly. But no, shout out to Christopher Nolan for breaking the trend of like the non-super aggressive shaky cam that I bring up every fucking movie because it bothers me so much. And there was like a little bit in this movie, but that's it. You just need a tiny bit. Yeah. If I can't see what's going on, then like why am I watching your movie?
Yeah,
you know?
No, I agree.
And so big shout out to that, because I could actually see what was going on in every scene. Unless it was really dark, in that point, that's fine. Because then it's obvious that you don't. It's obvious you don't want me to see. Yeah. But if you're doing shaky cam, it's like now my head just hurts.
Bring up the dark. I really love when sometimes they're underwater and they do that thing where the camera's like a head bobbing, where it'd be like you'd see like just a tinge of like just a little bit, and then you go back under. Stuff like that was great. It's like him and his team know how to shoot a movie.
Well,
there
was
a beautiful,
great combination of like even the fighter. Plane scenes, fighter pilot scenes, how they would show it from like far away, just like the planes flying, and then they would show like the first person view, like how limited their vision is and stuff like that. So, and they did that for like every like group of characters. They would show it from like different views and perspectives.
Well, let's talk about the air then. I think you brought up a good point about. For me, I thought it could have got a little boring, but the way they shot it was very well done. Like you said, you get the scope, or you get the characters, or you get the you kind of got the feel of being in air. Like obviously, I imagine they shot it in just some green screen room, and Tom Hardy was sitting there, but it never feels like that. Like, and that's the thing. Obviously, there's probably CGI in this movie. That this movie never feels like it's CGI.
Yeah,
even when I was looking for that when the plane went down, like it looked real. It looked very well done and very crisp. And that's where a lot of movies I feel like can get really lazy and just like, oh, a boat's gonna sink. Let's just make it look like as quick as possible and get it done. Like I feel like everything's taken care. For some reason, I don't know why, because Tom Hardy's one of my man crushes. I love him. I think maybe this was the weakest part of the film for me, opposed to the boat thing, because it was really tied with the boys at the beginning of the film, and we keep going, and the moment where he loses his partner is really good, which I also got to shout out. Some people are like, oh, this is the first film that Nolan's done since like 2002 that didn't feature Michael Caine. I have not looked up in the credits, but I'm pretty sure their leader was voiced by Michael Caine because there was 3 of them, and I remember they said they lost him. 99% sure that he was voiced by him because that's his boy. So I'm gonna look it up while they're talking, but. And if it's not listed, I still swear it's gonna come out that was him because the lines he just sounded very Michael Caine. Blind me, I can't do it. But for the most part, I liked it. I think in the middle it struggled a little bit for me because they did this thing where Tom Hardy was kind of our guide for the nonlinear storytelling. Like he'd be in the sky seeing the stuff, so you need that. But I think sometimes there was almost too much of him in the sky, just kind of flying around and nothing happening. I felt like there's a half an hour chunk where he'd seen the plane where he had to take down, and then it was half an hour of him looking down and still going after that plane. When they get to the actual event in real time, it happened in about a minute. Like you saw the bombs go off, him chase them, that plane's coming down, Tom Hardy takes him out. So it was like maybe 2 minutes in real time. But from Tom Hardy's perspective, it took maybe 20, half an hour of the movie. And that was the only part where sometimes I felt like there's one moment where he saw the plane, and I thought he was gonna like suicide and drive right into it because he like sits up, he does this, he gets really like he looks like he's about to go into action, and I felt like the action for him didn't take place for another 10-15 minutes, and he kept looking down. So it's the thing of you kind of need that, but I think maybe that's the only part where the nonlinear hurt a little bit for me was I felt like maybe that was spinning wheels a bit. And it kind of bounced out. This is one I'll have to watch again because when we get to the end, you don't see much of his perspective. You see everyone looking up from the plane. So I kind of get that. They gave you his perspective earlier, and then later you don't see him that much. You see it from their perspective. So I have to watch it again how I feel, but I think the middle was the weakest part for me. Ending was great because I was very emotional. I was like, this guy gotta make it, this guy gotta make it. Even though I guess we don't know if he really makes it, right? Because he could be like a prisoner of some sort, right?
Yeah.
So it's this like classic Nolan of like, oh, he kind of makes it, but he doesn't. Like Inception, like it's just Tom Hardy. But like, and Tom Hardy, Dylan may disagree, but I think he is one of the best people to put a mask on and to have no lines. I think Tom Hardy is in like the top 3 of best actors right now.
I love Tom Hardy. I just fucking hate Bane.
But I know, but I feel with Bane, even then, like, for me, the reason I throw that out, the eye work that he does in Dark Knight Rises, no, it's true. Anytime...
I don't think I've ever heard that word.
Oh, you just did now.
Work.
But, like, the way he can portray sadness or rage or determination in Bane, like, the mask is such a hindrance that anybody else it could have really hurt as far as acting-wise, and I think he kills it. And that's what he does in this movie. It's a lot of looking over, it's a lot of seeing his partner, and in that movie, that could have been easily really boring the whole time. But it's even less than Bane. Like, it's really just a bit of his forehead and his eyes, but even that way, and I think that's why Nolan put him there, he does a great job. And I think his friend guy I think he was good. I liked him more at the end when he was on the boat and you got more of his character.
Yeah.
Up to that point, I didn't really care about him. I'm just like, oh, good actor doing a good job. I liked him more on the boat, but I liked the Tom Hardy stuff almost all the way through. I just felt the middle was a little, maybe needed retooling. I don't know if that's where the linear hurt for me, so that was maybe the weakest, but like weakest is a minor thing for me. Like they're all great. It's not like, these are A's and this is like a fucking F. Like it's nothing like that. It's just like, damn there. So that's my thoughts on the Air story.
I actually really enjoyed their story. I felt very pulled into it. It felt, for me at least, very intense the whole time. Mm-hmm. I have flown planes before, so I felt a little connection with Tom Hardy there. Mm-hmm. How intense everything was, and for me, just like the constant, like everything you had to keep me aware of and everything going on at once, just like the constant dog fights and then having to watch his fuel and stuff. Just everything seemed just very frantic and very intense for me at least. And then I felt Tom Hardy did a wonderful job too, like just having the mask on and whatnot. And as you said earlier, the eye work, completely agree with that.
Eye work,
wonderful.
hashtag eye work.
Oh yeah. And then the other pilot, he did a good job.
Yeah. I just don't think there was much to work. I think in the boat you got to see him be like a hero, but like even then he's just like picking people up. And
I'd say like his best part was when his plane went down and him showing that struggle that he was having.
Yeah. Talk about claustrophobic scenes. That's one that...
I was just on the edge of my seat for that one the whole time.
Yeah.
I was like, oh god.
And the switching back and forth between that and like the people on the tugboat as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I thought for a second when he got the gun he was going to shoot himself, to be honest. I thought that's the route we were
It was
going.
a flare gun.
Yeah.
So...
Well,
I was thinking, why doesn't he just shoot the canopy? And then I realized it was a
weird.
flare gun, so I was like,
yeah.
That makes
But
sense.
still, maybe do some damage.
Yeah, but then you're
You might
stuck
also
in
be
the little
blind.
cockpit with the flare.
Maybe he knocks him unconscious, you know, that'd be a better way. And then how did you feel about Tom Hardy's ending about, you know, I'm surviving, but, you know, maybe
I thought it was
not
good.
days
I think
ahead.
the one thing about that one was I felt like there was that Tom Hardy's parts had the most plot armor.
Yeah.
He, like, it felt to me a little unrealistic that he's constantly going from dogfight to dogfight to dogfight and always coming out on top.
Well, especially at the end when he had
and then,
very low, like he had no fuel and he's just gliding. That's where it's like that end when he got him. I was like, alright, like I can buy it. This is a heroic moment. And maybe that's why I'm not a big fan of the ending. I don't know if he should have got, I don't know how I feel about him being captured, to be honest. I think they maybe should just let him, like, he's gonna go off and get on one of these boats eventually. He's just gonna have to walk a long way, but I don't know how, it's something that'll have to sit with me, but I don't know, I was like, it felt like they wanted a double down, like, you're gonna feel great, but at the end of the day, like, it felt like they wanted to kill him, but they're like, no, let's not do that, I'm gonna be a bit too depressing, but, like, let's get him get captured, too. So I'm still uneasy how I feel about it. That's why I keep asking you guys.
I don't know, I personally think he should have died at the end. I would have felt a little bit better, because...
Yeah. I would have liked it better than him getting kidnapped.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, for me, the way how he landed so far down the beach and that was outside the perimeter, I'm happy he didn't just walk away from it unscathed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad he at least got kidnapped. But I think that when he made the decision to, because he's out of fuel and he's gliding over the beach there, and he makes a decision to go and shoot down and maneuver to shoot down the German bomber coming in. And I think by making that decision, that would have resulted in him giving up a lot of his just like altitude and his ability to maneuver and land safely. So I feel like after that he should have been just being a crash, and you know, landing gear doesn't work, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
He gave his life to save all those men when it comes down to it, even making the decision earlier on. Because he was aware of how much fuel he had.
Oh, yeah.
And then he made a decision to keep going after the bomber rather than turning back. So, yeah. That's probably the only ending I'm a little disappointed in. But overall, I still think it was, for how they ended it, they did a really good job for it.
Michael Caine was in the movie. He was uncredited, though, so they tried to sneak in that cameo, but can't sneak it past me.
Past Travis, no.
What do you guys think on the air story?
I think it was probably it's tied with the Mole and Beyond's.
There's only 3
there.
stories.
So it's tied with all of them.
No, because the boat is definitely
definitely less.
Okay.
It's less. Yeah, but
Taylor's not a fan of the boat.
The plane story is definitely up there. I feel like with the ticking of the score with the clock sound, I feel like
there.
no pun intended.
Oh God.
For the score with that ticking sound, I feel like it best suited the plane story in the sense that as soon as these pilots take off, they have limited amount of fuel and they have to make everything that they're doing count. And so with that ticking sound happening, it just really added to the anticipation of what they're doing and what they have to, like the decisions they have to make. And with all the characters leading up to like Tom Hardy that we got to see, I feel like in these situations where you have such horrible things happening, it'll either bring out the worst in people or the best. And when Tom Hardy was in that moment and he was looking back, seeing that bomber, and he was looking at the fighter guy, the pilot in front of him, deciding which one to do, and knowing that whatever he does, it's a one-way trip, I think that it was just so intense to see that good side brought out in him, where he just immediately he finished off that pilot and he veered back to take out that bomber. And it's just those things in movies that I really, really enjoy seeing. And as a character, I think Tom Hardy just, as you said, like with the eyes, you could really see it in his expression. The eye work, yeah. Even with the goggles on, his eyes were still working wonders. I mean,
just the way he moved his head.
Yeah,
Great.
If you have any reason to be excited about the Venom
Swivel
movie,
head.
he's it. He can
Slight
somewhat save
movements
it.
in his shoulders.
Yeah,
But those eyes are going to be CGI.
But maybe not.
maybe not.
Maybe they'll do it.
His eyes.
But maybe they'll do like a Caesar thing, you know, like where he's, you know, like they'll. That's what I'm hoping for.
Interesting.
I feel like as soon as their squadron leader got taken out, and he was just gone. I mean, that was when it just really started to impact. Like, okay, out of nowhere, all of a sudden, a German plane just comes in and just opens fire on their plane. Just think, okay, this is like at any point in time, they're like, you don't feel like, okay, they're not more safer in the air than those people on the beach. Like at any time, they could get shot, they could get taken down, and you get to see that as the one pilot gets shot down, and it was just very intense to see, like, okay, they could bug out, they could all activate their chute, but they don't. They stick around. Like that one pilot, he's still, as he's coasting down slowly, he's making sure that he's giving Tom Hardy updates on fuel and everything, because he knows, like, that'll help him in the long run. And it's just, I don't know, it blows me away how they were able just to deliver such an amazing emotion and suspense in those situations. And as for Tom Hardy dying, or not dying, I guess.
I didn't see that.
He could die.
Yeah, he could die. We don't know. He
They
could
could
turn
have
around.
shot him like a
Up to
couple
you.
seconds later off screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it was fitting, because, well,
For him to get kidnapped and maybe tortured for
it's hard
something
to say.
worse than
Gone
death.
to a concentration camp.
I feel like
Yeah.
when he turned off to take out that bomber on that one-way trip, I feel like he made that commitment to not to survive, but maybe to die in that sense.
I think he made the
guess.
commitment. I just would have maybe liked if maybe taking away Tyler's point of plot armor, maybe taking that away. I still wish if it would have been like, because in most movies they decide to die, and this one time would have been nice, like, oh hey, it worked out for him, you know, he did all this, and like
Yeah.
this is what, because he's been completely selfish the whole movie, but then it's like, no, these people still get him, and it's like, oh well, fuck, this really sucks. Like,
Yeah.
like, and I guess like, oh,
Maybe those were his buddies, and then, like, right after the movie cuts to black, they're just like joking
Yeah.
Crack
around.
open a
You wanna
cold
fly
one.
someone
thought
back?
we were
Cracking up
Germans.
the cold.
yeah, we told you we'd get you back for last year. That Frankie told us. You done there?
I think I'm done. Yeah.
I think you're done.
Dilmas, the air.
Yeah. Let's see. What's there to say about the air? Tom Hardy. I think I'll take a slightly different path than you guys. I thought he was okay. I thought he was actually right in the middle. I don't know if I wasn't as hyper vigilant on looking at his eyes as you guys were or something, but I think he's a great actor.
Mm-hmm.
Bar Bane. I don't think that's his fault though.
Oh, the shade.
And yeah, I don't know. I just felt like I've seen more of him in other movies. Now, obviously, it's very different, and he's pretty one-dimensional in this movie just because he's kind of like the badass pilot, and he only really has the chance. Like, there's no like physical aspect to his acting other than his eyes, I guess.
So yeah, that's why I disagree. And you know, like all the
Yeah, but I didn't really. I don't know. I feel like for me, he's like right in the middle. I actually liked his co-buddy there, his co-pilot, more than him in this movie. Yeah, I really liked that character. I thought he was. I just felt like he was more lively, and there was more like emotion or more spirit to that character, more heart going on. And then, I mean, obviously he's on a boat with those other people, so he has more of a chance in that sense. But yeah, I like that character more. Do you know what's that actor's name?
I'll find
'Cause I
out
don't-
because I haven't seen him in much.
I don't think I recognized him from anything, but I thought he was really good in this movie.
He seemed familiar, but I couldn't.
He does
say
look
what he's
familiar.
from.
Jack Lowden is his name.
Jack
What else
Lowden.
has he
Notable
done?
things, I doubt it. 71, Nile, England is mine, so a lot of foreign stuff. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I don't think you've
Yeah.
seen him in much.
Um,
War and Peace, so he's done a couple war movies.
So yeah, I thought he was really good.
Mhm.
Tom Hardy, I think you made a really good point, Travis, on how like maybe they had a bit too much of those scenes of him just gliding around, but I really liked that it was almost like an omniscient view. You really get to see like what's going on everywhere, and then that really helps to tie all the stories together too,
Yeah.
because you recognize that boat, or you recognize
yeah,
that boat, or you recognize that boat. A
or
lot of
those
boats.
people.
Yeah,
Or that
exactly.
plane.
Yeah, exactly. So
Or that water, no.
I've seen this patch of water before.
And
well, it did help with the oil though, because he was the first one that let us know that oil happens, right? Like he sees all the people, and he sees them swimming in the oil, and
You
then
see a
later,
huge dark patch.
yeah, and then later one person's like, "Oh, there's oil," but really they're just like, "You gotta get on the boat quick before there's a fire." So you already know that in your mind that okay, oil is spilled. So I liked that. I think it was just too much of him and that other plane,
Yeah.
like, looking at each other. You know, it was like I liked him, like what you said, the
Yeah.
scope of like
yeah,
the bird's eye view.
I think maybe there's a bit too much of that, and I think Tyler makes a good point of like the plot armor aspect of it. I mean, really, there's the only perspective to show is the one of the guy who actually like survives the whole thing. I guess from that perspective of the pilot. Obviously, in the other storylines, we do see some of the characters die. So from that sense, I think it makes sense to show a guy who kind of bested all the other ones, and I like that he survived in the end as well. What was my other point? Oh yeah, I really liked the timing down, how he was so aware of the fuel. I thought I was kind of like wondering at first, like, why are they showing this so often? Like, there's probably 3 or 4 separate scenes
You
where
know-
he, like, writes a number down. But I like that really all kind of ties it together, that he knew exactly how much time he had left. Like, exactly, down to the minute. And
Even though when the fuel went out, he was a little surprised, though. When it finally went, he was like, he was a little caught off guard when it went off, I'll say. Like,
I don't remember that.
oh, I felt like he was when the fuel eventually went out. I felt like he had an estimate, but when it went out, he was like, oh, shit.
Maybe I just like this idea in my head that when
Yeah.
he was counting it down and he knew exactly. So that decision that I think Taylor mentioned, the decision to stay even though it might cost him his own life. Yeah, I thought that was a really good moment.
Mm-hmm.
As far as ending, I'm unsure how I feel about it. I like that it's open, so you can kind of do with it what you will in your head. But
Classic Nolan.
Classic Nolan. But yeah, no. The more we talk about it, the more I really like that storyline. So yeah, that was well done.
Well, we've talked about the stories. Is there anything? I want to talk about the score. I don't have too much to say because I said most of it, what I said at the beginning, but I think it's one of Hans Zimmer's better scores and use of it. I think with him and Nolan, anytime they're together, it's just magic. And I find when Hans Zimmer's with other people, like, the BVS score has, like, moments where it's good and moments where it's not that good. And he did Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is the same thing, where I feel like it's a good, and then sometimes it's And I feel like him and Nolan just have this magic, and they just know how to work together. And I think that shows in Inception. I think that shows in the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah.
I think they are just one of the best director, composer, if not the best pairings of all time. Like, you got maybe like a Lucas and a John Williams, or a Spielberg and a John Williams. Like, I quite like this score, and especially because I feel like this year we talk about score all the time, and there hasn't been any scores really that have stuck out to me, and this one really did.
I think the reason this one was a little bit lower for me is I think it had some really great moments, but I think the main reason why this seemed a bit lower is because we just saw Apes this last week, and
Fair
you
enough,
didn't,
and I have not
and
seen
the
it.
soundtrack in that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was the best part of that movie for sure. So when I compare it to like how this movie and that movie, you know, took those emotional scenes and through the music would portray how, you know, how you should be feeling, how the characters are feeling, I think that movie did it better than this one, and I thought it was more interesting. Whereas this movie was a lot, I guess that like mundane feel of it, or like just the dread is maybe portrayed in the music kind of being like quite repetitive, and so maybe that's what they're going for, but at the end of the day it just makes it like a little less lively in that sense. But I do think it was good, and obviously I think Hans Zimmer is phenomenal. Like, Inception soundtrack is great. That music was so loud, like that rumbling, like you could feel it in your seat in the theater. I don't think I've ever experienced that where a movie was just like so heavy on the bass that you could like feel the rumbling. So I thought that was like 4D, man. That was
Very
nice.
interesting.
Even though we didn't have the 3D glasses, but
We skipped the third D.
we skipped, yeah. So we're 2D plus 4D minus 3D. I don't know the math on it.
60.
60.
So we're 3D. 2 plus 4 minus 3.
I'm gonna drink my water.
It all comes around, folks.
What do you have to say, Taylor?
For me, I'd have to say I enjoyed the score. I definitely am with you, with your reasoning, like Planet of the Apes, just how the score added to the scenes. I feel like with this movie, the score being kind of cut back and just being more silence and just kind of in like the natural sounds of like all the events happening around them, just really it added so much more emphasis to everything happening.
Yeah, I think that's going to win a lot of awards that they can, because they love that. Like, there's a sound editing and a sound mixing.
Yeah.
The amount of noises that just work and like you said, kind of portrayed fear, or like just things coming closer. I think look for the awards in that year, or this year, because that's going to be big.
That year.
I'm a time traveler, you see, so I don't remember what year I'm in.
I have to say, like, Hans Zimmer, like, his stuff with, like, Pirates, Sherlock Holmes, like, Dark Knight, I love his music that he composes. Like, it's great. And
No love for Inception?
Come on.
Yeah, it's good.
He forgot.
Okay.
He forgot what it sounds like.
Hard to forget.
I like the stuff that he composes, and, I mean, it definitely wasn't, like, my number one favorite from this movie, but he delivers when he's doing these kinds of things. Like, there's no being let down with what he's gonna throw out there for a film. So I'm more than happy to listen to his tracks.
Overjoyed, you could say.
Oh, I'm overjoyed.
I think the score individually, like on its own, like just as a score, it didn't stand out like a huge amount, but the way it went with the film and complemented it so well was just phenomenally well done. and just like the constant. There's always that. I don't know if it was always audible, but you always felt that kind of ticking moment, and it was just constant throughout the film, and just like the way that it just built the suspense in all the tense moments, and then and just even the moments that were silent with no score were just so impactful, and I just thought the whole, like, every single part of audio of the film was just incredibly well done. And one part at the end that I loved was how you can, like, when they're on the train, and right as they get on the train, there's a bit of ticking, and then as soon as the main character goes to sleep, it just stops, and it's like he's finally done. He can finally rest and just like let go of all the tension and stress that he's had in his body over the past week, and it's just like that's just like that feeling of relief right at the end. It's like it's finally over, and that I loved how they did that. So I just thought the score just overall great. I wouldn't say it's worse than the Planet of the Apes. I think they both had a similar impact on the film. So I think it's just really well done. I'd give both. I don't know why I'm going into apes a lot, but it's just been brought up. But yeah, I'd say they're both like phenomenally on the same level for what they did.
Yeah. And I want to show one thing I forgot to mention. I found the ending a little weird when they were on the train. He was reading the paper. It was them, and they went to like a shot of Tom Hardy, like kind of walking there. Or they went to shot a plane, and then they quickly went back to him just sitting there on the train, like just his face, and it said Dunkirk. I don't know if anyone remembers.
And then he like looks up.
Yeah, I felt it was kind of strange way. Like I felt like we didn't need it. It's just a minor little nitpick, but I felt it was a little awkward the way it just kind of happened. So, do you guys have anything else to throw?
I think because while he was reading that, you see Harry Styles' character, and he's obviously really happy. Like he's cracking some beers and he's saying hello to these people. Whereas, what is the main character's name? Is that his name, Tommy?
Tommy.
Yeah, Tommy is like reading the paper, and his head is down, so you can't really see what his reaction is, but then he looks up and he's like, he's not happy.
Yeah.
Like he's still, like reading that paper for him wasn't a good thing. It was just like, well, this isn't over even though I can go home right now. And
like for him, it just feels like it's done, and like he's done with it, and just to read that, there's so much more that's going to be going on.
So I actually liked that cut, because that whole scene you couldn't see his face, but then after you do, and like he's the main character of this movie for me at least. Like I don't know screen time wise or whatever. I don't know who would be number one, but I think to me he was like the main character, and he's the one who kind of drives that hopelessness of the movie.
I didn't mind ending on it. I wish it would have stayed on him then for the last 10 seconds. I think
Fair
for me it
enough,
was the splicing up the plane right away and back to that.
Splices.
Like, yeah. So, do you guys have any other notes? I have nothing that comes to mind at least.
Well, just another shout out to like the cinematography of this movie.
Beautiful movie.
Just so beautifully shot, for sure.
No one always brings the game, and his people always bring the game. So, anything else?
I like that it felt very minimalistic in a way. Just like the shots, it wasn't like a whole lot going on ever. Well, there was.
I think there was.
There was some stuff that was going on, but some like a lot of very just like the shots of the admiral on the pier. I think he was admiral. I don't actually know.
Oh yeah, that guy. He's pretty good.
Those were just some beautiful shots, just like the white pier, and then like the beach in the background and the ocean, and then everything's like very bright, not bright, but like white and kind of bland. Then he's just black with like some shiny colors, and just like the way they did those shots were phenomenal. And yeah, so good.
Anything else? Should we get to our overall thoughts here?
Let's overall it up.
Right.
Okay.
Overall thoughts, ending thoughts, and a score if you want to give it.
Well, I'll start. I feel a little bit guilty because I do feel underqualified to review this movie at this point, and I know we just did, but I really...
Why do you feel underqualified? You've seen
it.
You've seen a lot of Nolan.
I feel like I need to see it again.
Okay,
I feel like need to see it a few more times to really know how I feel about this movie, because there's parts that I didn't like, and there's parts that I really liked, and I'm not sure if I just need to like see it again, knowing what the story is and knowing where these characters are going. That's why I feel underqualified, because I got a lot of this like that hopelessness of this movie, and I think that was the biggest like strongest part for me. But if I gave movies numbers, I wouldn't even give one because I wouldn't know what to give it at this point, just because I know it'll change. I really enjoyed this movie, and I think people should go see it. I feel like this movie will be shown in history classes in high school and stuff like that.
There's not many movies about Dunkirk, so it's a good chance it will be. So.
But as for right now, I still am a little unsure how I feel about this movie. But I would say I think it's really good. I'll just go with that for him.
Check out our end of the year. I'm sure Dylan will know a bit better then, because we always talk
I'll
about
probably have watched
movies
it
that we've seen again or whatnot.
And I guess one thing I've mentioned on previous casts, but not now, is I'm not generally a fan of the World War movies and like that genre, even in video games and stuff. It's just not one I'm particularly interested in. So the fact that I felt so strongly, like positively toward this movie is, I guess that's just kudos to, I don't like the word kudos, but that's a testament to Christopher Nolan and how strong of a movie maker he is. Yeah.
Well,
I'm actually very curious about this.
Big deep breath from
4.
Sounds familiar.
Same score.
when I see these kinds of movies, they really hit me. I find, like, more so than really any other kind of movie.
What do you mean by that?
War movies, Nolan movies?
War movies. Okay. And war movies in general. Like, having, like...
I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
They might not.
Mm-hmm. Having a relative, like, knowing that they've gone through this kind of experience, and having never met them, I feel like when I watch these movies, it really just... It has something that just kind of just makes me feel very emotional and just kind of connected with, like, I'll say my grandfather in this sense. Like, it's just really, it's deep and it's just very impactful, and it's just such a kind of perspective that I feel like people forget and they don't realize. And I feel like for a movie like Dunkirk, I think it's just, I'm glad that it was made. I'm glad that this is a story that people get to experience and share. I think that I find that there's not enough war movies that are out, because I feel, like I said, these are things that are forgotten about, and it's such a powerful message and just experience that needs to be shared with tons of people around the world. So I'm gonna give it, and I feel like my number could change, but at this point I feel confident in giving it like an 8 out of 10. Yeah, so I think that people definitely should see this movie. I think it was fantastic. Definitely something I definitely want to see again. So, yeah.
I find it kind of funny because I also feel like I'm underqualified to review this film, but for like a different reason than you, because I feel like for me, I really enjoyed this film, and I thought it was just tremendous filmmaking. It just it resonated within me a lot, and I love the messages it sends and just everything about it. And then, but I feel like despite everything that I got from it, I feel like there's so much more depth to everything that I don't fully understand, and that like critics and people who review things for a living and are paid to do it, like phenomenal amounts.
Must be nice.
Yeah, it must be nice. You know, we're getting there. But I feel like my level of understanding and comprehension for the film just like isn't high enough to understand everything that the film did. There are a lot of moments where I'm like, this is a great moment, but I feel like there's so much more meaning to it that I can't even grasp right now. But from what I know and how I enjoyed it, I thought it was a great film. I think everyone should go see it. Actually, no, I said that earlier.
Yeah,
not everyone should
we
go
went
see
through
it.
that.
we went through that.
But I think at some point in everyone's life they should see it.
That's a good point. There you go. Yeah.
I was gonna make a really dark joke on that one.
All right. But yeah, I just like the as you meant, and I feel like you kind of touched on it. They don't show this side of the war in war movies a lot, like just this constant dread. Like there is obviously dark moments and like dread and terror and stuff, but this degree of it isn't shown a whole lot. And just a great film, and I think it's going to send waves throughout the industry. I think it's going to impact a lot of people in a lot of different ways. So, yeah, I've scored a very solid 9 out of 10 for me.
Well, I when I look at this movie and I look at his like past, I just think that there is a level of talent that Nolan brings to whatever he's doing that is kind of unmatched right now, and I think there's a reason. I think some people talk about, oh, he's a little overhyped, overrated, and I think it's movies like this that always remind me there's a reason when there's a Christopher Nolan teaser, like when we saw Dunkirk and it was like 40 seconds of just like a beach, some score and whatnot, there's a reason why you get excited, and it's something that I think right now is unmatched. Like, it is a high claim because he is so young and new in the game, and he's only done maybe not even 10 films yet, but he's up there with those likes of like a Kubrick or a Spielberg or a Peter Jackson at one point, or a Tarantino, or a Martin Scorsese. Like, he is building that resume, and I just feel like every time, one way or another, he delivers. Even myself, who didn't love Interstellar, it's still, you look at that, and it's just like an amazing work of film done. And that same thing, I think, even if it's not if you're not a person that likes war film, or even if you might not like this film, I think there's such a craftsmanship to it that you're going to appreciate it. And I think this, for me, is back to, and the only lump I have was Interstellar, and for Interstellar, for me, it was like an 8.5. And to me, if that's your like lowest, you're pretty damn good. So I really, really enjoyed Dunkirk. I don't know if it's like maybe 6 out of his films. Once again, that's saying a lot because I love, obviously, the Batman films. Prestige is my favorite non-Batman film. That movie is fantastic. And I think that's a little bit because the war stuff is pretty basic and simple, but what he takes could be basic and simple. He makes it very grand and very impactful, and it's a gut-wrenching movie. And it's a movie that I am excited to watch again because I'm the same as you guys. I'm not exactly sure where I lay on it. It's one of his better ones. It's one that I think is one of the best films that have come out this year. I'll be definitely championing it like I did La La Land during award season, because who knows? I don't know what's coming out next, but I don't know how many films are going to come out that can get close to this. I'm giving it a 9.5. I have very, very minor problems with it, and that's why, for me, I've given a lot of 10, so people are going to look at this and be like, you gave Lego Batman a 10 and Dunkirk a 10. You can't compare in that sense. I just give a 10 for if I had any negatives. And Lego Batman, because it's so simple, it's just a fun, good time, didn't have any negatives, so I can't really be like, oh, I'm just going to give it a 9 because it can't be higher than Dunkirk. You know, for me, and this is something, I'm all three the same as them. I could change. It could be actually a solid 10 for me. I need to watch again, like, how do I feel about that Tom Hardy ending, you know, or now that I know the non-linear part, can I watch it again beat for beat? And I had an idea pretty early on, but just to see now how it all plays out, the other stories. So yeah, I think it's a phenomenal movie. They've all said I think everyone should see it. If you've watched this far, you've probably already seen it. But yeah, it is. Nolan just proves again he is one of, I think, the greatest directors of all time, and I'm definitely excited to see what he does next, because this is the one where they announce it. Interstellar.
What if he retires?
What? That's a pretty good batting average. Like, if you look at first films, like, I don't know. And for me, Interstellar was something I was very excited about. Maybe let me down a little bit. Dunkirk, like I said at the beginning of this review, I was like, a war movie, I don't know. This for me was a shot in the arm to be like, okay, even though he says, I'm going to make a movie about a park bench, I'm going to watch it. And I think it's going to be pretty great, because Nolan can shoot the hell.
That's probably my favorite movie about a park bench.
He can shoot the hell out of that park bench. So whatever he does next, I'm very excited. I would like it not to be another real story. I want him to be a bit more fantastical again, but, you know, just give him that Oscar and then he'll go fucking nuts and he'll just make real shit. But yeah, Christopher Nolan, bad on you. You're the fucking man. Like, amazing work. So, Taylor, where can they find all our amazing work on the interwebs? Not as good as Nolan's, but, you know,
it's up there.
One day.
You know, we're endorsed.
When he makes a GeekVerse biopic.
Oh my god, I can't wait.
Well, once you guys have gotten to the boat, you know, check that Wi-Fi connection and make sure you type in the search bar.
That one was worse than the pun from the Geostorm trailer. I was gonna say earlier, you know what? None of these puns are as bad as the Geostorm trailer, but that was worse.
That Geostorm.
We got that before.
Geostorm looks like total shit.
It looks like
I actually really want to watch
bumpy.
it.
I know nothing about it. I saw Gerard Butler. You know, not a bad guy.
Really?
That's
what you thought when you saw Gerard Butler?
Yeah.
They were way too cheery for the world literally ending.
Yeah, and like the music and the feel of it just felt like it was so upbeat, and it was these shots of just like hundreds of thousands of people dying.
Not everyone's Christopher Nolan, okay? You gotta give people a break.
No!
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan is a standard now.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, yeah.
So in the search bar, type in GeekVerse Space Podcast on Facebook. Find tons of awesome stuff. All this Comic-Con stuff. It's great. Check it out.
Wow.
Yikes.
That was your shortest one yet.
No, not yet. He had a shorter one earlier.
I think
was
we
pretty
missed
short.
a lot.
Did I?
And probably not, but it just felt really short and you didn't say a lot.
Well, you can find us on Twitter at GeekVerse Cast,
Mhm.
and everywhere else is GeekVerse Podcast, so it's pretty simple to remember.
We got a huge weekend. We already did a podcast earlier. We broke down day 1 of Comic-Con. We talked about Defenders trailer, Kingsman, Jigsaw, a lot of stuff. Then we did a very quick 2-minute cast on Doctor Doom and a solo movie. Well, maybe, 3 minutes? Yeah, maybe we'll talk about it a bit more tomorrow. We're not sure. Probably Dylan and I at least will be doing a podcast tomorrow, unless the Defenders trailer is just the exact one. Then maybe we'll just skip it. But you never know with Comic-Con. Look at all this news that already came out today, so I think there'll be other stuff to talk about. So I know Dylan and myself will be there for sure. Morning, talking about Gerard Butler, maybe not to spoil it, but tomorrow morning our superhero Comic-Con draft drops. So what we're doing
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we drafted the 4 people on it, drafted 5 actors who we think could get casted in the next year in a superhero movie. It's all for bragging rights, so maybe this weekend something will happen. Maybe someone's going to cast Doctor Doom. Only Taylor's money, that's it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he has to win or he loses $5. So yeah.
Gerard Butler's
5?
Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
I thought it was like 100.
Each.
No.
Oh, wow.
500.
5,000, I meant to
Each.
say. 5,000. And then, yeah, Saturday we're covering the DC panel, Marvel panel. At some point, we'll let you know on Facebook. That's the best part, to follow us on Facebook or Twitter, because we're not exactly sure. We're busy people, but you follow there. We'll be dropping you when the cast goes.
True.
There's a Dynamic Duo special. We got tons of content. If you like comic book stuff, and I imagine you do if you're a Christopher Nolan fan, because he made the greatest comic book movie / the greatest movie of all time, we got you covered. Lots of content. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you a bunch this weekend. Promise you won't be boring.
GeekVerse out!
Later, nerds.
Nerds.
Wow.
Nerds.
What are you, Jessica?
What are you?
Nerds.
Stealing Tyler's line.